Good afternoon. We are continuing on with our next unit on those proportions in real context. Last time we did direct proportions. This time on CO35 we are using partitive proportions in real context. So in order to use partitive proportions, we need to know what partitive proportion means. So a partitive proportion is, let me turn to the correct page. Okay, it is dividing a whole into proportional parts using ratios. So remember I said we're building on what we learned in the last unit. So we're using those ratios and we're going deeper with them. So that partitive proportion, we're dividing a whole into proportional parts with those ratios. So partitive proportions are very similar to ratios as seen in CO29. So you can always look back at that. And your thought process should involve dividing the total into parts. So one is done for you. We divide 300 into groups with a ratio of 2 to 3. So remember when we were working with those ratios and we had those totals, we had to add up our ratio to see what that was, to see what we're multiplying by to get to that total. So if our ratio was 2 to 3, 2 plus 3 gives us 5 parts. So I'm dividing those 300 groups into 5 parts. So there's n amount in each part. So now we can put that into our algebra terms. And we can say 2n plus 3n equals 300. Now we're going to combine those like terms. Oh, I gave that to you as a Khan Academy, combining like terms. So if we have a positive 2n and a positive 3n, we get 5n. That's 2 plus 3 is 5, and they are all n. So we can combine those like terms. And so now we're going to solve it for n. So this is that one-step operation. 5 times n equals 300. So if we're multiplying by 5, the opposite would be to divide by 5. 300 divided by 5 gives us 60. So now we know that each part is 60. So we're going to go back to that original problem, 2n plus 3n equals 60. And we're going to say 2 times 60 and 3 times 60. So our ratio would be 120 to 180. So we're back in our ratio format, 2 to 3, 120 to 180. James and Asher, that is so not what I'm doing up on the board. You might think you understand it, but the other person might be struggling with it. And if anything, it's just disrespectful. Okay? So if one of you wants to move so you remember to focus, one of you can move. So James, if Asher keeps distracting you, you can always come sit up front. So that way you don't get distracted by playing silly games on your paper. Then we can always, oh my arm touched the board. We can always go back to check our work. We know we have a total of 300. So does 120 plus 180 equal 300? If it does, then we know that we're doing good. We're on the right track. So let's look a little more. I'm going to scroll up. says answer each question and, oh, surprise, surprise, show your work. So let's do this one together. You're going to help me walk through this. Divide 64 into two groups with a ratio of 1 to 3. What do you think my first step is going to be, Jude?
1 plus 3.
Yeah, we want to add 1 plus 3. So we know that we want to divide it by 4, right? So we want there to be 4n as our total. Sorry, I put the 4n on the wrong side. We want 4n to go into that total of 64. Because we know it's into groups of 4. So what's my next step? Lucas?
64 divided by 4.
Yeah, we're going to divide both sides by 4 to get n by itself. So 64 divided by 4 is what? Which is 16. So now we know n is 16, and I should have put n's up here. 1n plus 3n equals 4n. That's my bad for not putting that n on top. What do I do now? Because that's not my answer. We want the answer to be as that ratio. Christian?
You multiply 16 by 1 and then 16 by 2.
Yeah. So I'm going to put that 16 into our ratio. Goodness. So what is 1 times 16? That's an easy one. What's 3 times 16?
48.
48. My way of checking it would be to say 16 plus 48, does that equal 64?
Yes.
And it does. And actually, this is one way to write the ratio with the word 2. I always resort back to the colon. Just put the answer as the ratio. Okay, it could be 2, it could be a colon, it could be with the fraction bar. All right. Should we do one more together? Let's do one more. Just see where we're at. Divide 600 into two groups with a ratio of 11 to 13. What would be my first step? Olivia?
To add 11 plus 13.
11n plus 13n is going to equal
24.
I'm sorry, what? I thought you said 34. 24n, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just heard you wrong. So we know 11n plus 13n gives us 24n. So what's my next step, Grayson?
24, you put 24 in equals 600.
24n equals that 600.
And 24 divided by 24 and 600 divided by 24.
Yeah, we want to get n by itself, so we divide both sides by 24. So 600 divided by 24 was what? 25. So James, if you want to sit on this side so you can see better, you can.
And then you do 11 times 25. And you get 275. And you do 13 times 24. 13 times 5. And you get 225.
Good. So my new ratio would be 275 to 325. So if we're going to do it with 3 groups, we have divide 450 into 3 groups with a ratio of 4 to 5 to 6. What do you think I have to do there? Christian?
Add 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah. I'm going to do the same thing. I just have an extra one to add. 4n plus 5n plus 6n equals
15N.
15N. So then I've got the same thing now. 15N equals 450. Divide each side by 15. And we get N equals 30. So now we just put that back into our ratio. So 4 times 30 to 5 times 30 to 6 times 30. So it doesn't matter if there's 2 numbers in the ratio or if there's 3 numbers in the ratio. Blakely?
What if you have to make it as a fraction?
Then it would look goofy. You would have, so this is 120 to 150 to 180. So it would be 120 to 150 to 180. What? So it's not an actual fraction, right? Because it's the ratio. Ratios are not fractions. It just looks like a fraction. So I wouldn't do it that way. I would do it with the colons or the word two. I would do it with the colons because that's easiest for me. All right, let's look at our second page. You're going to finish this page off yourself. Let's look at our second page. Now it's word problems. Can you wait till we're done? A man raised $81,000 for his son's middle school and high school. For every $5 he gave the middle school, he gave $4 to the high school. How much did he give to each school? What do you think I have to do? What would my steps be? Kaylin?
So would the ratio be 4 to 5?
Our ratio,
Or 5 to 4?
5 to 4. Middle school comes first, so it would be 5 to 4. So it would be 5N plus 4N equals 9N. What is 9N equal to? To $81,000. And then you're right, we want to get N by itself, so we're dividing by 9. So N equals 81 divided by 9. Yeah, 81 divided by 9 is 9, plus we got those 3 zeros. So now I need to know how much he gave to each school. So I know the middle school was that ratio of 5. So I would do 5 times 9,000. And the high school, and I'm going to label it so I'm clear which one is middle and which one is high school. 4 times 9,000. So my middle school got $45,000. And the high school gets $36,000. Making sure that you are labeling your middle and your high school so it is clear how much each high, can you wait till I'm done recording? How much each high school gets, or each school gets. Does that make sense? So looking at what the question is, making sure you're putting the answer. So here, peach tree, pear, or apple tree, pear tree. Remember those ratios go in the same order. So your answer is going to tell me how many peach trees there are, how many apple trees there are, how many pear trees. I don't want to just see numbers. I need to know that you know which number goes with which tree type. So make sure you label. If you don't label these, I'm not going to mark it correct because I'm not going to know that you know what goes with what. Claire?
Do we have to write like the N at the end of each number? Like if we're on like the test, or can we just write the number in because we like know that it's.
So that is a great question. What I'm looking for on the test, I'm looking for your answer. I'm not double checking your work on the test. Why do you think you should not take shortcuts when you're showing your work on your test? Emerson? If you get it wrong, you know where you went wrong. What else can easily happen when we take shortcuts, especially on a test? Grace? Yeah, you can mess up easy. It's a lot easier to make simple mistakes when we don't write it out. So I don't want us to get in the habit of taking shortcuts, because then we're going to make more simple mistakes. And when we get into the harder algebra problems and we're not in the habit of writing everything out, then we really make the mistakes. So I'm not going to mark it wrong if you didn't put the N, but I don't want us to do that because it's setting up bad habits. Okay? So does that answer your question? You would get it right, but I don't want to see that because I want you to be getting good habits. Grayson.
I tried to take a shortcut as you were talking, and I was doing 5 plus 3 plus 2, but somehow I put in my calculator wrong, so I got 30, and then I did 2,000 divided by 30. And then I just realized.
So when we try to do those shortcuts, that's when we make simple mistakes. And I caught somebody doing that on a practice work last week. They weren't writing out the steps the way that I've shown, and they forgot to do a very important step. When I show you the steps to do, it's for a reason. Okay, it's because I want to set up good habits now so we don't make simple mistakes. Any other questions? Okay, so you are going to be working on CO35 for tomorrow. We are correcting. When you are finished, you're going back, making sure you have your Khan Academy done. Lots of us have a lot of Khan Academy to do stuff. In a few minutes, I'm going to start recording for our math packet number 6. That is due next week, Tuesday. So make sure, January 23rd, make sure that if you want to follow along on the math packet, if you've turned it in, you take it back so you can follow along. Make sure you're doing it correctly. If you want to keep working on your math homework, that's fine. Thank you to my friends that are not moving and are quiet. When I work on that math packet, you can keep working on this to get it done and watch the video later. That is totally fine. If you are watching this video right now, we hope you are well. We hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.